The House Committee on Natural Resources, Environment, Tourism, and Outdoor Recreation will come to order. Will the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Mahutsky.
Here.
Representatives Hill.
Here.
Shannon.
Present.
Arbit.
Here.
McFall.
Here.
Pies.
Present, and I apologize for being tardy.
Martin.
Here.
Preston.
Here.
Shriver.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Representative Arbit moves to approve the minutes from a previous meeting on March 23rd. Hearing no objection, the minutes are approved. So we are waiting on one of the bill sponsors to make it down from a previous meeting. So we're going to take a second, but before we get started, I just want to flag for folks that for one of the bills, House Bill 4185, there is a substitute. You have it before you, but we are not going to be voting on it today. I just wanted everyone to know what we were talking about when the sponsors come in and start discussing it. So it'll be on its way over to you shortly. You will have it before we get started on the discussion. So, and with that, we're going to go at ease for a moment. Committee will come to order. Okay, so today we have a package of bills from Floor Leader Ayash, Representative Menser, McKinney, and Vanderwall that addresses asbestos abatement in Michigan. We have Floor Leader Ayash and Representative Menser joining us today to discuss their bills. So if the two of you would like to come forward. You can walk slowly. I know you just got in, so. In the building. Here. All right, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This has been a long time coming, and I think highlights why term limit reform was important. So this legislation that is before you today is about protecting the health and safety of workers in our communities, as well as providing local governments with the authority to hold bad actors and contractors who put people at risk for asbestos exposure accountable. These bills are a part of a long project that has been led by senators and representatives over the last two legislative sessions, Senator Chang and Representative Vanderwall, as well as former reps Bill Sowerby and Gary Howell, who are both the minority vice chair and the chair of this committee, respectively. So this legislation comes from a 2017 Auditor General's report, performance audit from what was then the MDEQ, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, and from the Air Quality Division Asbestos Program. And there's a copy of the report. If you guys are all interested, I'm happy to send that over to the chair to send out to all the members. So the Air Quality Division, from a 2017 Auditor General's report, was tasked by the department with administering the National Emission Standards for Hazardous Air Pollutants, or NESHAP, to protect the public and environment by minimizing the release of asbestos fibers during demolition and renovation activities. This is an issue that is important all across the state. For my district personally, the city of Detroit passed what was called Proposal N several years ago, which was tasked with providing funding through a bond program to demolish or renovate, I believe, 25,000 homes. And as you know, older communities tend to have asbestos that is built in the homes. So it's important that before they get demolished, that there's inspections and things of that sort to make sure that the neighborhoods are protected from any exposure from asbestos particles that may go in the air as a building is demolished, and that our workers are not going to be put at risk when they are going to be tasked to do the job. So under current regulations, building owners and operators are required to notify the Air Quality Division for all demolitions and renovations where the amount of regulated asbestos-containing materials meets certain thresholds. The Air Quality Division is supposed to conduct compliance inspections to determine if the contractor performing the demolition or renovation is in compliance with regulations regarding the proper removal and disposal of asbestos-containing materials. And here's what the audit found. That there was not timely and complete input of inspection, complaint, and violation into the required state databases for tracking this problem, and they were not able to ensure that liable owners and operators provided timely responses to violation notices. And unfortunately, there wasn't an ability to demonstrate that in inspected landfills you could properly dispose of, that you could get rid of the material in some of these inspected landfills. So at the time, the department realized that there was not adequate staffing or funding to address this problem, which was what led to a lot of the lack of oversight and a lot of folks getting away with demolishing and renovating some of these properties without doing the proper asbestos abatement. So they came to the legislature and said, we got to fix this problem. And that's what has been attempted over the last 2 terms. And if you want, I can also send you an article from the Detroit Free Press in 2017 where they found dozens of cases where unlicensed contractors and untrained workers were improperly removing and disposing of asbestos-containing materials. And as you know, if you watch local television, there's a man named J.G. Wentworth who says if you have a structured settlement, you need cash now, you call him. And that comes from a lot of the conversations around if you have asbestos, it can lead to things like mesothelioma and other dangerous cancers that can be life-altering, in most cases, life-ending. So what we also realized was a lot of the local governments were hiring contractors that had plenty of violations and sometimes criminal convictions. And this was a result of the lack of oversight to be able to vet some of these contractors properly. So, this is a package that would really help address the public health crisis, but also empower local governments to address this issue. So before you today is a bill package that would break everything down, and Madam Chair, we'll be happy to take some questions or break down the bills one by one if that's what the committee would like to hear.
Does anyone have any questions starting right now? Minority Vice Chair Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, thank you for bringing these back up again. I don't think I was on Natural Resources yet last time when it came up under Gary Howell. The funding. So the general fund dollars remain, and you add the fee. Or is it a fee going to cover the costs for the programs?
Yeah. So one of the bills, House Bill 4188, would institute a $100 fee per notification. So Ohio and Illinois charge $75 and $150 respectively. And this program would force or require Eagle to have to inspect at least 15% of the renovations and demolitions that they receive notification for this year and for 2024. And then it goes up to 20% of all of the homes and demolitions for 25 and 26. And then a quarter of all notifications for 27 and hereafter. So it allows them sort of ease into the program. And the $100 fee, and I'll have the department talk about the funding necessary, but we believe that the $100 fees is a reasonable payment to allow them to hire the staff. Because right now, part of the problem is there's not enough staff with Eagle to go throughout the entire state. I believe the number of staff to actually address this issue is in single digits, if I recall correctly, for the entire state. So you got to imagine, just in my community alone in Detroit, the number of homes that will go through demolition, single-digit number of employees under 10 is not enough to look at those issues and sort of addressing things like brownfields and like other places that may need to have that inspection done. So the $100 fee would help cover some of that funding.
And that augments what's already line item in the general fund.
Yes, looking at what Eagle says.
Are there further questions at this time? Okay, thank you all very much. If you're able to hang around, that might be helpful just in case. But as you mentioned, we are going to have the department come up and answer some questions as well and give some testimony. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, next up to testify in support of the package is Travis Boskell from the Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, and I believe he's being joined by Chris Etheridge as well.
All right, good morning. So I'm Travis Boskell, Legislative Liaison with the department. And as the chair said, Chris Etheridge is with me. He is one of the assistant division directors in our air quality division. So I'll try not to cover too much of what Rep. Ayash covered. As always, he's pretty well prepared, so he's got some of my talking points in his. You're forgiven. Okay. So I want to thank the chair and committee for bringing up this package, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Senator Chang for really carrying the torch on this, and then Representative Ayash, Rep. Howell, Rep. Sowerby, Rep. Vanderwall for their leadership in carrying this from session to session as we've tried to get this down the line, and obviously other sponsors, Rep. McKinney, Rep. Menser. Really appreciate it. So I'm going to take a brief second to step back and give y'all an overview of our asbestos program and how it works, because I think it's a good grounding. So we administer, as Representative Ayash said, the NESHAP, and a primary function of that is protecting the public and environment by minimizing the release of asbestos fibers during demolition and renovation activities. So building owners and operators have to submit notifications to EGLE for demolitions or renovations where the amount of regulated asbestos-containing material meets or exceeds the threshold specified in federal regulations. So those thresholds are 160 square feet. So you think like ceiling tiles, right? Or 260 linear feet. So pipe insulation is a really good example of that, because that used to be asbestos-containing material. What our responsibility and what our oversight is we review those notifications of intent to demolish or renovate, and then we perform compliance inspections to determine if the contractor is performing demolition or renovation, as well as are they disposing of those asbestos materials in compliance with the regulations. And then naturally, we also initiate enforcement action when we find violations. And then, as was discussed really briefly here, we have about 7 people dedicated to performing these inspections. So we have 3 in the Southeast Michigan area, 4 that cover kind of central and west Michigan, and then we have a staff person in the Upper Peninsula who spends a quarter of their time working on these inspections. So that gives you the whole picture of state coverage. A little bit about kind of the workload that we have here. So in 2022, we received 10,000 original demolition or renovation notifications, and then 58,000 revised. And I might need Chris to help me a little bit when we get there about the dynamic that plays out there. And then we conducted about 1,700 inspections. The representative discussed the Auditor General report, so I'm going to skip over that a little bit. I think the one additional item that I'll flag is that there have been some historical examples where municipalities have brought in contractors who have had multiple violations in the past and serious criminal convictions that resulted in worker safety issues, public health risks, that kind of thing. So I think that's the genesis for a lot of that, the items in this package that govern those contracts with local units of government and contractors. So jump into our position on these. So I just want to flag on the front end. So 3 of the bills in the package, 4186, 4189, and 4190, are mostly dealing with the kind of relationship and contractual requirements between local governments and contractors. And that's definitely something that's outside of our expertise. So we're not coming in taking a position on those. I'll just say that presumably having better regulations over how those work will result in better compliance with these regulations, and so that's a positive. The 2 bills in the package that deal with us specifically, so both Representative Ayash's, they're 4187 and 4188, and we're supportive of those. So those are the ones that have the notification fee, the annual inspection kind of proportion requirements, and then the annual report on sufficiency of inspectors. So before I jump to answering questions, I just want to take a moment to clarify a little bit on that funding piece. So I thought nodding my head was enough to help you all out, but it's not actually general fund that funds the current asbestos inspectors. So back when this all started, when we only had about 3 or 4 people doing these inspections, that was funded primarily from federal dollars. And then as we've worked through this package and worked through the notification fee, we've really realized we needed more inspectors. So in the meantime, we've been using some of our Renew Michigan funding to help us. We've hired 3 additional people, I think, with that Renew funding in the meantime. And then this notification fee would be on top of that. So with that, I will take questions, and Chris will help me with questions from the committee here.
Are there any questions to start off with? Vice Chair Hill.
Thank you. Could you, as a brand new person, what is Renew Michigan funding?
Renew Michigan is, and I'm not a tax expert, but back in 2018, it was a dedicated source of funding that was directed to the department as intended to replace the Clean Michigan bond revenue that we had every year as that bond declined. So it's used pretty broadly. We use it for contaminated sites. We use it for some kind of permitting staff. We use it for landfill regulation. We use it for these asbestos inspectors. We use it for recycling grants.
Minority Vice Chair Martin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a question under 4185, which we're not voting on today, but it has, I was curious about the definition. It says the civil penalty, not more than $7,000 for each violation that is specifically determined not to be of a serious nature. Who is the one that promulgates the rule of what a serious nature is?
So unfortunately, you picked the one bill in the package that my agency is not lead on. That's the MIOSHA bill. So I'll send a flag to my friends over at Leo and ask them to talk
Very
with
good.
you on that.
Further questions? All right, seeing none, thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, we do have a few more cards to read in. Not wishing to speak, but supporting HB, the entire package, looks like, is Robert Jorg from the Michigan Laborers District Council. Not wishing to speak, but supporting the entire package is the Michigan Townships Association. Not wishing to speak and supporting the bill package is Sean McBurdy from Clean Water Action. Not wishing to speak and supporting the bill package is Megan Tinsley from the Michigan Environmental Council. Not wishing to speak and supporting the bill package is Yusuf Rabi from the Michigan Nurses Association. Not wishing to speak and supporting the bill package is Ethan Petzold from the Michigan League of Conservation Voters. Not wishing to speak and supporting the entire bill package is Tim Minotis from the Sierra Club of Michigan. And again, just to clarify, Eagle is supporting HB 4187 and 4188 from the package. Seeing no further business before the committee will stand adjourned.